Before the screaming, before the blood, before the impossible truth tore the night apart, there was love. A deep, endless kind of love, the sort that made strangers envious and friends hopeful. Her name was Leah Elliott, and she'd married her soulmate. Staff Sergeant Cole Elliott had that kind of quiet strength people leaned toward. He met Leah when they were both teenagers working at a gas station in Knoxville, Tennessee. She was sharp, funny, and strong-willed. He was calm, confident, and loyal. From the first moment they looked at each other, the rest of the world seemed to fade out. It was never a crush or a phase, not some fleeting spark. They were gravity. They were meant to be. They built a life that mattered. When Cole enlisted, Leah stood by him without question. He taught her how to shoot, how to track, how to hunt deer through the Smokies in the fall. Their love was built on mutual respect, trust, and fire. After the birth of their son, Cam, everything felt complete. Their 9-year-old had Cole's steel blue eyes and Leah's stubborn streak. Every weekend was either a cookout or a camping trip. Every morning began with laughter and ended with stories under a blanket fort. Then one morning, during one Cole's deployments overseas, came the knock at the door. 2 men in uniform, solemn and expressionless. Words like Kandahar, IED, and immediate impact burned into her ears. Leah collapsed before they finished. That morning, she was boiling eggs for Cam's lunch. That night, she was a widow. She lasted 3 months in the house they had made their home. The pictures, the smells, the garage Cole used for projects, his boots still by the door, every part of it ripped her open daily. Friends told her to stay close, let people help, but every condolence felt like salt on exposed nerves. So, she packed up everything she could and moved out to a property in the Ouachita Mountains in Arkansas, way off the grid. A quiet A-frame cabin near Rich Mountain, with no neighbors for miles and only pines and silence as companions. She told herself it would be temporary, just a pause from the world, a place to grieve in peace. Cam didn't understand it all, but he never complained. His mother was all he had now. The days were calm at first. Mornings came with soft winds, and nights were cool under heavy quilts. Leah chopped wood, homeschooled Cam, and did her best to keep her heart stitched together. There were still moments when grief came in waves, crashing out of nowhere, but she would look at her son and keep standing, because that's what Cole would have done. But in the stillness of the mountains, something else had started to move. It began small. One morning, Leah found dead squirrels arranged in a strange circle by the tree line. She blamed a fox, or maybe some sick prank from hikers, though they hadn't seen a soul in weeks. Then came the sounds, tapping on the windows late at night, sharp, deliberate taps that would stop the moment she turned her lamp on. Cam mentioned hearing scratching near his room, but Leah brushed it off. Then came the claw marks, thick, uneven gouges in the siding of the house. She tried to rationalize it, maybe a bear, maybe a raccoon, but deep down, a chill started to creep beneath her skin. The air out here had changed. It wasn't just isolation anymore. It was like something was watching them. One evening, as the sun was setting, Leah stood on the porch with a mug of coffee. The tree line swayed, and for just a second, she saw movement. Not a deer, not a bear, something tall, hunched, moving low through the brush, fast and awkward. That night, she pulled out the old gun locker Cole had built himself. It still smelled like his workshop. She cleaned the rifles and pistols, loading each with quiet urgency. Just in case, she told herself. 2 nights later, the storm hit. Wind roared through the trees, and thunder cracked the sky open. Cam was asleep in his room, tucked under one of Cole's old military blankets. Leah sat in the living room with a hunting rifle across her lap, heart tapping a steady rhythm in her chest. The power flickered once, then went out completely, Darkness fell like a shroud. Then came the sound. Something heavy slammed into the side of the house. She stood, rifle ready, eyes scanning every shadow. Another crash. This time from the back porch. A growl rolled through the wood, deep and guttural, shaking the window panes. Leah's breath caught. She stepped into the hallway, past the stairs, toward Cam's door. The sound of shattering glass behind her made her spin. It had come through the kitchen. She only saw it for half a second. Its eyes were yellow and sunken, head low, like a predator, limbs long and thick with muscle. It was covered in black fur, more beast than man, jaws hanging open with thick strings of saliva dripping from its maw. She raised the rifle and fired. The creature ducked, too fast, and vanished around the corner. Leah grabbed Cam, who had woken up crying, clutching his stuffed bear. "Mama, what is that?" "Stay behind me, baby," she whispered, voice trembling, but her hands rock steady. She moved them toward the hallway closet, shoved him inside, and locked the door. "No matter what you hear, don't come out unless I open this door. You understand me?" He nodded, eyes wide with terror and tears. Leah turned and ran toward the gun locker upstairs. She needed more firepower. Whatever that thing was, she needed to kill it before it got to her son. Glass shattered again. Heavy footsteps moved through the lower floor. Leah's boots hit the upstairs floor hard. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows as thunder rolled across the sky. It seemed like the storm was only getting worse. She moved fast, pain flaring in her ankle from twisting it during the sprint, but she didn't slow down. She shoved aside the coats in the bedroom closet and unlocked the old gun locker Cole had built with his own hands. The Remington 870 was still in the top slot. She grabbed it, loaded 3 shells, then 4 more in the carrier sling. Beside it sat her Glock, 2 full mags, and a backup revolver. Below them, the K-bar combat knife still had Cole's initials carved into the hilt. She took everything. From downstairs came the sound of wet breathing, a deep, steady drag of air through a throat too wide and too wrong. She peeked over the railing. The dogman moved through the wreckage of the kitchen with unnatural grace, dragging a claw along the countertop. It was sniffing. She crept back, keeping her steps light. Her shoulder brushed the wall, and a loose picture frame hit the floor. The dogman's head jerked up and its nostrils flared. Leah aimed low and fired. The blast sent it reeling back into the kitchen wall, drywall and cabinets exploding with it. She chambered another round and moved. It howled, loud and wounded but still alive. She fired again. This time it dove through the living room, too fast for something that size. It crashed into a side table, overturned the couch, and vanished around the corner into the hall. "Cam," she whispered, turning sharply toward the closet under the stairs. She yanked it open. He was still there, curled up in a ball, hands clutching at his ears. "Let's go," she said. "We're moving." "But Mama." "Now, baby, move." She pulled him to his feet and pushed him behind her as they moved through the back hall. The storm had killed the porch light, but the lightning outside gave the windows a sick, flickering glow like something out of a haunted mansion horror movie. They had to get somewhere she could bottleneck the thing. The pantry had a crawl space hatch inside. She swung the pantry door open and shoved Cam inside. "Get under the floor. Do not come out until I say." He disappeared through the narrow opening beneath the shelf. Leah turned back just as the dogman rounded the corner. It wasn't walking anymore. It was galloping, shoulders pumping like pistons. Blood leaked from its jaw where she had clipped it earlier, teeth now bared to the gums. She fired point blank. The shot blew part of its shoulder open, and it slammed into the counter with a roar. She tried to fire again. Click, empty. She reached for her Glock, and it was on her. It swung its claws and knocked her off her feet. Her body hit the floor hard. She scrambled back, drawing the pistol mid-roll. It lunged. She shot it in the face twice. Blood exploded across the pantry wall. It roared and crashed into the side of the fridge, howling in pain. Leah got up, bracing herself between it and the trapdoor. She didn't know how many rounds were left, and she didn't care. "You're not getting him," she hissed. It crawled forward, slower now, breath ragged, one arm nearly shredded from the blast. She emptied the pistol magazine into its chest. Throat and skull, every shot was aimed. Every one of them landed. The final bullet hit its eye. The dogman's head collapsed in a wet thud, twitching 3 times, then lay still. Blood soaked the floor around her boots. Leah stood over it, chest heaving, arms shaking, the stench of death and gunpowder thick in the air. She holstered the empty Glock, turned, and opened the trapdoor. Cam stared up at her, tears cutting lines on his cheeks. "Is it dead?" he whispered. "Yeah," she said. "It's dead." She reached down and pulled him into her arms, holding him so tight he gasped. The lights flickered one last time, then the storm outside went quiet. They sat on the floor for a long time, wrapped in silence, surrounded by blood, guns, and a monster that should not have existed. The cabin smelled like blood and gunpowder. Leah sat at the kitchen table, her shirt torn and soaked, her right shoulder wrapped in a dish towel. Cam lay on the couch, pale but safe, wrapped in 2 blankets and clutching his stuffed bear. The dogman's body still sprawled across the pantry floor. The storm outside had passed, and the world was too quiet now. She reached for the phone and called 911. The line rang once, then twice. "Emergency services." "There was a break-in," she said. "My son and I are safe, but I had to shoot it." "Are you injured?" "Yes." "Officers are en route." They hung up before she could say more. 35 minutes later, the first car pulled up. It wasn't what she expected. No sirens, no state troopers, just an unmarked black SUV, then 2 more. They parked in a perfect line across the gravel driveway, like they had been there before. Cam peeked through the window and stepped back. "Mama, those men look like soldiers." Leah looked too. They wore suits and had tinted glasses with radios on their shoulders. They moved with precision, like they had done this before. 3 local deputies arrived behind them, wide-eyed and unsure. One of them, Sheriff Collins, stepped inside and stopped cold when he saw the body. "What the hell is that?" No one answered him. The men in suits brought in crates, sealed gear, large tarps, and thick plastic bags. One of them opened a tablet and showed Leah a document. "We're here to help, Mrs. Elliott. We've been tracking it for weeks." Leah didn't say anything. "We're going to remove the animal and sanitize the site. You'll receive compensation for property damage and relocation, if necessary." "I killed that thing," she said. "Yes, you saved your son. That's what matters now." Another man handed her a folder. Inside was a typed report. It described a large feral bear that had broken into a remote home. It claimed Leah acted in self-defense in order to protect her son. It noted there were no unusual circumstances. At the back of the folder was a non-disclosure agreement and a bank transfer slip. 6 figures. "Sign this," the man said, "and forget what happened here. Don't ever speak of this to anyone. We know where to find you. You'll keep your son safe. You'll move back to Knoxville near family." She stared at the pen. Her hands were still shaking. She thought of Cam, thought of the blood on the floor, thought of Cole. She took a deep breath and signed the papers. The men didn't smile. They nodded. Then they took the body out the back door, wrapped in plastic, loaded it onto a reinforced flatbed truck with a hydraulic lift. They scrubbed the floor with chemicals, took the guns, took the shell casings, took everything. By morning, the cabin looked like nothing had ever happened. Sheriff Collins gave her a long look before he left. I don't know what went down here, or what the hell that thing was, Leah, he said, voice low. But you did what you had to do, and I hope you and your boy never have to go through that again. She didn't answer, just nodded and closed the door. They left Arkansas that evening. Her sister's guest house in Knoxville sat on a quiet suburban street lined with oak trees and plastic mailboxes. For the first time in months, Cam smiled. He played in the yard with cousins. He ate full meals. He slept through the night. Leah tried to sleep too, but her body still woke at every sound. She kept a small revolver in her nightstand drawer, and she checked the locks 4 times before bed. But it got easier. Bit by bit, the quiet became real. One night, weeks later, she dreamed of Cole. She was standing in the woods. The air was warm. Sunlight came through the trees in golden streaks, and everything smelled like pine and leather. When she turned, he was there. He looked like he always had, strong, calm, eyes full of fire. He wore his uniform and smiled. "You did good," he said. She fell to her knees, crying. "You protected our son," he told her. "You were brave. You were everything I always knew you were." She reached for him, but he held up a hand. "I can't stay long, but I need you to know I'm proud of you. I'm with you. Every step, every breath." Leah looked up at him. "I miss you." "I know, but you're not alone, and you never were." Then he was gone. She woke in her bed with tears on her cheeks. But this time, she wasn't crying out of grief. They were something else. Relief, love, healing. She walked into Cam's room and sat beside him while he slept. The moonlight through the window cast a soft glow across his face. He looked peaceful, safe. She brushed his hair back and whispered, "We're okay now." And for the first time since the knock on the door, she believed it. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Descent into the Unknown for more horror content. If you have any real cryptid encounters, or you're a horror writer wanting to share your stories, please feel free to email me in the description anytime.